What I want people to feel and think about when they look at my art is the possibility of different futures. We are currently living in a moment in time where it feels like there's only one way in which the future is going to go. It feels like there's just one homogeneous narrative of what technology and what AI and what the future could be. But there are many possibilities, and the way that we're deploying AI and technology is just one of many. So what I want to do in my art is an invitation to imagine different possibilities for the future. I think ultimately that is the role of art and creativity, is to bring new possibilities to the cultural landscape so that when people see it, they feel inspired and they see these other possibilities that we can walk towards that perhaps are different from the dominant narratives. That has always been the power of art, is presenting these new narratives and inspiring different possibilities through culture and through a deep connection to what we're seeing. My name is Rodolfo Ocampo. I'm originally from Mexico, and I'm an artist, researcher, and creative technologist who is really fascinated by the possibilities of new technologies in creative practice, in art making. I did a PhD at UNSW on human-computer interaction, focusing on how humans and AI can co-create. And I've also explored my creative practice in the context of new media installations, using generative technologies as a new medium, as a new tool, and as a partner. And currently I'm working as an interaction researcher, an AI researcher at Canva, developing tools for creativity. I'm more interested in the tools that do something weird. And that's really how I got into this. It was really by accident. I was just playing with these tools, language generation model back in 2018, and it was generating really weird language, and I found it really fascinating. So I just kept playing with it, and then I found myself 8 years later, I guess, calling myself an artist, but I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just tinkering around with these tools and amusing myself in the process, making things that I find interesting and that hopefully others find interesting. But yeah, anything from, the classic GPT language models tools and diffusion models to just like old school generative adversarial networks, which are like these neural networks that generate like really weird stuff. It's an invitation. And when you give a prompt or when you do something with these technologies, you're essentially planting a seed, planting an invitation. And then you're asking, what seeds can I plant here? Well, where will it go? So with a team of amazing musicians and artists, we created an installation called Music of the Sails, which essentially took data from the environment and a building, the Sydney Opera House, and turned that into a living performance. So by reading the data and understanding what was happening, how hot the building was, how much energy it was using, the temperature outside, and a lot of variables, the AI basically interpreted the state of the environment and then controlled a music engine to produce music that reflected the state of the environment, allowing people to connect with its surroundings, with the building, with the place where they were standing in a closer way through music and through art. There's a lot of research coming out that is kind of worrying, showing that over-reliance on AI actually it's detrimental for our cognitive capacities, detrimental for our ability to think critically, to write, to read. So I think that what's at stake is our own intelligence if we are automating it away. Again, it doesn't have to be this way. This is just one alternative. This is just one way of designing the technology. But there's many alternatives. We can use it to become smarter. As a tool, it's primarily useful when it's used as an invitation, when it's used as a question, rather than when it's used as something that is used to replace humans and used to automate something that we already do. And now what you see behind me is another one of these explorations. So this is a flower that doesn't exist. It's a species that doesn't exist, that was made by using some photographs that I took from hikes. I really like photographing flowers and plants and just biodiversity in general around me. And I combine it with images from iNaturalist, which is a platform where people do citizen science documenting biodiversity around them, and came up with this like new series of species that could be plausible, that could exist natively in the Australian environment. And I played with the colors and I played with the visual elements of it, eventually coming up with this result, which was the result of doing thousands of iterations and thousands of possible directions, eventually finding one that I liked. I think the term artificial intelligence comes very loaded with a particular narrative, mainly imposed by Silicon Valley, which is a contrastive narrative. It's posed in contrast with humans. It's posed as something that is alternative to humans. I think there is a possible way of developing these technologies that is an extension or that is an alternative that does things that we do not do. So rather than doing a binary or a substitution or a contrast between us and the technologies, is how can we design technology that occupies a different niche in the space of possibilities of intelligences. And in that sense, I think the way that we can use these technologies in the most useful ways is using it to do things that we cannot do and that we don't even know is possible. And when you have this type of collaboration and this type of relation, either between humans or humans and machines or with humans and other intelligences, that's where you have the most fruitful interactions. And that is the power of art and of creativity, that it allows us to play with different possibilities, bring them into the world, show them to people, inspire them, and hopefully through that cultural change and that cultural imagination, we can move towards those different futures